Welcome back to my channel, and in this video we're going to cover another very exciting topic on how to invest 100k to 200k in stocks. 4 tips to help you skyrocket your return into orbit. Before we go on, I just want to celebrate another success in Investing Accelerator where Erin actually exited his position in ANET with a gain of 89.4% return. So congratulations, Erin. I'm very happy for you. I'm very grateful for your success, and I'm really glad you enjoyed the program and implemented the tips you learned into your own portfolio. So I look forward to your next successful investment. So how to invest 100k, huh? And this is really the third part of this 3-part video series. We started with how to invest in 10k, where I cover a lot of beginner tips on how to invest 10k because you're undercapitalized and so on. And then I have a second video where I talk about diversification and how to invest 50k. And now you are finally at how to invest 100k. Now, if this is your first time watching the video series, then I would suggest you to remember to watch part 1 and part 2 because some of the tips there still apply to when you're managing a 100k portfolio. But I think it is very exciting because when you're investing with $100,000, you're quite close to retirement, you're quite close to generating a very meaningful income from your portfolio, and you can actually replace a significant part of your income using your portfolio in the next couple of years. So you are really scaling up the mountain, and then you're going from 100k beyond, which is 200k, 400k, and even $500,000. So let's get started. So when you are at 100k, you're really at the top of the mountain within the series. The goal initially is to reach this milestone. And when I first reached it, I was actually quite happy because I first started with $3,000. And it was a combination of saving money, investing, reinvesting the money, and saving more money. So then I went past 100k. And as of right now, I'm actually closer to $500,000. So then I know how important 100k is. You're stepping into the 6-figure zone. And I'm very glad that you're here, and there are some crucial tips in this video that will be applicable to you, so then make sure you pay attention. So tip number 1, don't spend it and save some more. And this tip is really about delayed gratification. And there are a lot of studies done around the world with little kids that it's called a marshmallow experiment, where I put a marshmallow in front of you and you can choose to eat it now, or you can choose to wait for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and then the doctor will come back in and give you a second marshmallow. So for students who are able to not eat the marshmallow right away and wait for the second marshmallow are much more successful in life. And that is really called delayed gratification. There are a lot of books about this concept, but when it comes to investing, what's really important is leaving the money alone and reinvest it and reinvest it and reinvest it, so then you can get to 200k, 300k, 400k onwards. Second tip, don't over-diversify. So in the part 1 and part 2 of this video series, I emphasize this a lot because when you have a lot of money, like 100k, it is easy to lose your discipline. It is easy to invest in more companies than you want to, over-diversify your portfolio, so then you're not getting the optimal return. So when you have 100k, you do not want to over-diversify, and you want to continue to focus your portfolio on the greatest opportunities only. So you only want to invest in companies that you think are great. So the question is, how many companies should you focus on? And the answer is around 7. So if you can focus on around 7 companies, that is the optimal point. Now, of course, if you have 5 companies instead of 7, I think that's fine. If you have 10 companies, that is stretching it a little bit. I would suggest you to reduce it to 8 or 9, but somewhere between 5 to 9 companies, that is the optimal point for a 100K portfolio onwards. And so far, I'm at $500,000, and this is the same way I'm managing my portfolio as well. Tip number 3. Don't invest in loss-making companies unless you know what you're doing. When you have a 50K portfolio, it is easy to think that you can take on more risk. It's okay to lose a little bit of money, but the answer is you are investing your hard-earned money. So it is not okay to lose money, and so you shouldn't invest in companies that lose money. And if you ever invest in companies that lose money, then you need to make sure that you know what you're doing, because there's a second layer of risk that comes in when you're investing in companies that are loss-making. And this is actually really common to technology company where they're losing like millions or billions of dollars upfront. So for example, when Facebook just went IPO'd, when Amazon just went IPO, they were actually losing money. When Google just went on IPO, they were losing money as well. But you really need to understand what's happening when the company is losing money, because the stock price is going to fluctuate faster. It's going to be much harder to predict the stock price, and the ups and downs are much unpredictable than a company that is generating profit. But then of course there's also the upside, because the moment the stock goes from not profitable to profitable, that is going to lead to a huge jump. But as a smart investor like yourself, you need to know the company very well if you are going to invest in a company that is loss-making. And the general rule here is to avoid companies that are loss-making. Tip number 4, be careful of fraud. Now, real fraud does not really happen that often in the financial market, but what you really need to be careful of is financial statement manipulation. So now you're managing $100,000 worth of money, so you actually should learn some sort of fundamental analysis and understanding the company's financial. Now on my channel, I have a ton of videos about analyzing a company from a technical and fundamental perspective, but you need to be careful of manipulation of the financials. And that is, most people, they get caught off guard by that because they don't have a financial background. But that is not really a reason not to look at financials, because if you look at the smart investors in the market, the hedge funds, the more sophisticated investors, they always look at the financials because it is actually a leading indicator to the company's performance. So coming from an accounting background, I can tell you that there is a certain degree, whether it's small or large, of financial statement manipulation. It's not necessarily fraud, but you should definitely be aware of that. Tip number 5. Now, in terms of investing strategy, when I was at 100K, I still used the exact same strategy, which is focus investing using options. And I covered this earlier in part 2 of this video series, but basically the target return is to aim for 30% a year using stock options, and it will take you around 3 years to go from 100K to 200K, maybe around 3 to 4 years if you are more conservative. Tip number 6, with the next 200K to $500,000, I think you should really start thinking about diversifying into real estate, and I think that is a great option. Depending on where you live, whether you're in Vancouver, Toronto, San Francisco, Seattle, New York, and so on, the amount of down payment you need to invest in real estate is going to be different. But with 200K, I think that is actually a good amount to start putting maybe 50 to 100K into real estate. And the goal is really to have around 50% of your portfolio in real estate and around 50% in stocks. And both of these two portions you can use leverage on, because for real estate you can get a mortgage, for stocks you can use stock options. But if you don't know how to invest in real estate and you want to stick with stock, I think that is totally fine. You just got to follow the rules I laid out for you for diversification, which is somewhere between 5 to 10 companies for your portfolio. So I think that is pretty straightforward, but now it's a good time to start looking at real estate. Tip number 6, and this is really about retirement. Start calculating how much you need to retire, and usually is much less than you think. And a lot of people don't plan for retirement, or they start to think about retirement, but then they think they need a lot of money, like $1 million, $2 million, or even $10 million to comfortably retire. But the truth is, a lot of people in this world is not going to save up over $1 million when they retire. So then you need to think early and plan ahead. And when you're thinking about retirement, you really need to include inflation as well, and also the variability. So then a simple formula to calculate how much you need to retire is to take how much you need to spend each year, the annual spend, divided by your return each year times some sort of buffer. So an example is, let's say you need $100,000 a year to retire and your return is 25%. So if you take that and times 2, which is your buffer, then you need around $800,000 to retire. Now you can see that this is the retirement equation. And if you look at the variables, it's how much you have in your portfolio divided by the amount of return you earn. Now, most people are going to earn around 7% instead of 25%. So then that means you need a much higher balance to retire. So that's why you have a lot of motivation to increase your return, to learn better investing strategies, so then you can bring the amount of money you need to save to retire down. And then afterwards, you can include a buffer. Now, if you don't include a buffer, then you can just use 1 instead of 2. But for myself, I like to have a buffer, so then I like to use 2. So that means you need around $800,000 to retire. Now, if you take $800,000 and times that by the return you make, which is around 25% to 30% for myself, then that will actually equal to $200,000. So by creating a 25% gain on an $800,000 portfolio, I actually make enough money for 2 years. So that means I don't need to take cash out if I take $200K today for the next 2 years, which puts me in a pretty good position because I'm in no hurry to make more return and take money out of the portfolio. So that will reduce the amount of stress when I'm investing in the market. So following these tips, using the strategy focus investing using stock options will really skyrocket your return. Just like this image, you're launching your rocket, which is your portfolio, into the moon. So I wish you the best of luck, and I have prepared a special video for me. It's from The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. It's one of my favorite scenes when Walter Mitty, the character, decides to take a leap in faith and go for his dream, and he becomes a changed man. So I hope you enjoyed that video because I absolutely love that scene from Walter Mitty. And if you are interested in learning more about specific trades that I do, like the rationale behind it, the news analysis behind it, then you can actually watch some of the videos where I analyze the specific stock after I exited. For example, for EA stock, I have 2 videos about EA where I made $17,000 in profit. So that is quite awesome. And then I also have another stock video for Activision and Blizzard where I made $11K and I explained the rationale behind it. So my name is Eric Seto, and my goal is really to help full-time professionals without a financial background to target 30% from the market using my own investing approach. So it takes around an hour a week, and I only invest in the best 5 to 10 companies, and then afterwards it's done through an online coaching program called Investing Accelerator. So some of the successful case studies, including John making 57% from Ulta Beauty, Dylan, he made 50% from Ulta Beauty as well, which paid for his honeymoon, his wedding, and bachelor party, so that's pretty awesome. And Lisa made 55% from Ulta Beauty as well. So if you are interested to learn more, I do have a free webinar called How to Get 30% from the Market, where I outline exactly how my investing approach works, and I also packed a ton of value in this webinar as well. So you can click on the first link below and watch this webinar. Now, if you are a good fit for the program and if you are interested in joining the program, then you can schedule a call and apply for the program, and I will review your application. So during this free strategy session, we'll walk through your current situation, your portfolio, and what are exactly the next steps you need to take in order to take your portfolio from an average of 7% to 30%. So this is probably one of the most valuable calls you're going to have to work on your portfolio. So thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Please help support me by subscribe, and you can watch the next recommended video here as well. So I'll see you in the next one.